Welcome back to my channel, guys. My name is Ragurog, and today I am bringing you a tier list in which I am going to take a bunch of the servants from the Fate series, the anime specifically, and I am going to be rating them in terms of how good I think my chances would be at winning a Holy Grail war if they were my servant. Now, there are hundreds and hundreds of servants at this point in the Fate series, so to make this a little simpler, I'm just going to be going by a lot of the servants that we have seen in a bunch of the anime. So that's Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works, yada yada. There's a lot more to see, and it's growing more and more every year. So it's not conducive to do like a list of literally every servant. Maybe one day you let me know what you want to see. But for now, just using the servants from a bunch of the anime, it's a pretty good spread overall. I'm just going to be rating them right here and now, how good I think my chances would be. So that is to say, do I think I would have a guaranteed victory with this servant? Would I have a great advantage in the war? Would it be just all on me? Would it be like entirely up to me? Do I have the potential to win or lose? Would I be at a great disadvantage regardless of who it is? Or would it just be a guaranteed loss? So it's going to be interesting. There's not too many of them to get through here, but it's going to be interesting. Definitely comment down below which of these servants you think would give you the win, and yeah, let me know why. Anyways, just getting into it. Any old random order here. We've got Achilles, and respectfully, I'm going to say it's all on me, okay, because the deal with Achilles is we all know that his great, like, boon is that he is indestructible except for on his heel. Except when we watch him in Apocrypha, his identity is revealed, like, almost instantly, so it's like where it could have actually given him, like, just the biggest advantage ever to just hide his identity. He was sprung pretty quickly, so I'm going to say that, like, he could be a great victory or a great loss in the making, depending on how well I could actually hide his identity. Because I feel like if you could hide his identity perfectly, it'd be almost a guaranteed victory. But for now, I'm going to say all on me. Then we've got Shiro Amakusa, and this is a weird servant. He is a ruler. He's really powerful, and he just knows how to exploit the weaknesses of all of the other servants. You can't summon a ruler, typically, in a Holy Grail War, but if I could, I feel like that would be a guaranteed victory, because he just knows how to dispose of the others very quickly. Then we have Saber Alter, and Sabers just automatically get a great advantage, so I'm going to say that it is just a great advantage in the case of Saber Alter. I don't have much else to say on that one, however. Then we've got traditional Saber Alter, and when I say Saber, of course, I mean Alteria, but you all know who I'm talking about. For Alteria, I'm going to say great advantage again. She has proven that she is not a guaranteed victory in the past, but I don't know, it's like, there's like that stigma in the series, right, that if you get a Saber class servant, you will at least make it to the end, so it's like, I don't know. Then we have Rider class servant, a lot of people's favorite for a few reasons, Astolfo, and as far as I know, spoiler alert by the way, there are spoilers in this video, just so you know. As far as I know, in Apocrypha, Astolfo actually wins the war. They're the last servant to make it, so I'm gonna say great advantage. I feel, no, you know what? There was a lot of exterior intervention, so I'm actually going to say it would all be on me in the case of Astolfo. Then we have Atalanta, and again, all on me. She's a solid servant, she's not bad, she's skilled, albeit pretty hard to control at times. Like in the Fate Go game, there's actually Atalanta Alter, which is just a manifestation of her unable to control her emotions over, like, sick and dying children or something like that. So it's like, she would be quite hard to control, so it really depends on me. Then we got Avis Braun, and I'm going to say a guaranteed loss with Avis Braun. He, as powerful as he is, he shows in Apocrypha that he is wholly not interested in the Holy Grail, or the war, or serving his master. So if this guy were my servant, I feel like I'd have to, like, waste 2 command seals just ensuring that this guy doesn't stab me in the back, essentially. So, yeah, I wouldn't want Avis Braun. Then we have Chiron, and Chiron, I'm just gonna say all on me. Similar story to Atalanta. He's more level-headed than her, for sure, but I don't think he's overly powerful. He's definitely obedient and helpful and skilled, but there are much stronger servants there, so it would be very much up to me how to use him. Then we got Kahulin, and man, I want to rate this guy higher, but I feel like summoning Kahulin is cursed, I'm pretty sure. Like, again, spoiler alert, he biffs it multiple times in the series. It never ends well for him. So, there you go. Diarmut, okay, this guy, similar to Kahulin, things do not go well for him. So I'm going to say all on me, though, because he holds his own against Arturia pretty well, actually. Like, he had the potential to beat her, but his, like, code of chivalry that he follows to the letter, very detrimental to a victory. Like, I'm not making any statements about morality and who's right and who's wrong, but his master would have had a much easier time if they had just complied with his lack of ethics. So there you go. Then we have Archer, Mysterious Archer, who, I'm not going to spoil this one, but yeah, our Mysterious Archer class, who likes to pretend he's a saber. I'm going to say, if you summoned this guy, you'd probably be at a disadvantage. Like, because in Fate Stay Night, in Unlimited Blade Works, Rina actually has to use a command seal to make sure he, like, actually listens to her. And it works, sort of, but it's like, it's not without, like, a whole bunch of complications. And he's like, I wouldn't want to work with this guy, because, like, unless he knew exactly how to win, which he doesn't, I would just want to leave it all up to myself. Suffice it to say that if I were working with Archer here, I would probably just be, like, in a constant contest with him for who's actually leading, and I don't think that's conducive to a victory. Then we have Fran, or the Frankenstein monster, and it's all on me again. I see a pattern happening here where it's like, if I figure that they are a decent servant or powerful, but, like, not necessarily easy to control, then, like, it's all on me quite a bit, and that's pretty typical for Berserkers, which she is, so there you go. In the case of Gilgamesh, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised if I say guaranteed victory, because even if he is as uncooperative as he is, like, just the most powerful servant. Even when working against his disadvantages, this is in the anime, he has the tool for beating just about anyone, except for some niche scenarios and contrived plot developments, whatever, but in a general sense, I think that Gilgamesh is pretty close to a guaranteed victory. Then we have Gilles de Rais, and again, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised if I rate this guy as a great disadvantage. He is powerful in his own right, but similar to, say, Archer, he kind of likes to do his own thing, and he is insane. So I don't think that would work well for me. Then we have Hassan of the Cursed Arm, and I'm going to say that would put you at a great advantage. The thing about the Hassans is, like, even though they are the very model of an assassin, deceitful and mysterious, cloak and dagger, yada yada, they actually aren't deceitful at all. They are as loyal as a servant can be. And that's the interesting thing about the assassin class, is that if you had to pick a class that's going to betray you, probably the assassin, right? But no, because, like, the rationale is that they are assassins, so performing a hit for someone is their job, it's what they do. So if I have a hit out on, say, 6 other masters and their servants, that's his job, and he is happy to serve. Then you've got casters, weird tangent here, but then you've got casters who typically actually do end up betraying their masters, case in point, Avis Braun, because they, like their master, are a mage, so they feel like being demanded to serve is an affront to their status as a mage, of which they are objectively superior to their master by definition of being a servant. It's a cool, weird dynamic. Moving right along, we have Hassan of the 100 Faces, I think it's called, and exactly the same as the Cursed Arm. We would just be at a great advantage. It's a bit all on me too, because it depends on how you use them. With like potentially 100 different faces that you can use, like independently from one another, there is a lot on me, but I'm going to say that having those options creates a great advantage. Then we have Hercules, however you want to say it. I'm going to say that he is a great advantage, because he is a Berserker class servant and the very model of one. He is difficult to control, and we see in like Unlimited Blade Works, he only obeys his master out of like, I think it's implied that Hercules is reminded of his daughter who he killed. Right? Like, he killed his family, and that's what drove him to Berserker-style insanity. And then Ilyasville summons him, and she reminds him of his daughter, I guess. Like, that's what I got out of it. So, like, that's the only way that she was really able to control him. Once she was able to, he was an incredibly valuable asset. But I don't think I would get the same benefit. Then we have Iskander, and I want to rate him higher, I really do, but I have to say that he is only a great advantage. There's no guaranteed victory, especially if he's going up against the likes of Gilgamesh, which we see in Fate Zero. There is no contest. But I love Iskander, and even if it's not a guaranteed victory, of all of these servants, he is the one I might choose regardless, so that says a lot about his character. Then we have Jack the Ripper. I'm going to say that would be a great advantage. In Apocrypha, Jack is working at a terrible disadvantage herself because she does not get mana from her master. She doesn't really have a master, so she has to like hunt and harvest hearts. And she's not really involved in the Holy Grail War either. But if she were tied to a master and able to like feed on my mana and not have to expose herself to go and like hunt hearts to eat, then she would actually be at a tremendous advantage. She has a passive ability that makes it so that, like, as soon as you're not observing her anymore, you forget what she looks like or what she is. So it's like, that's an incredibly useful talent to have as a assassin-style servant. And honestly, like, to me that makes it more valuable than even, like, the Cursed Arm or the 100 Faces. Then we have another ruler-class servant. We've got Jeanne d'Arc, and unlike Shiro Amakusa, I'm going to say that she would only offer a great advantage. She is powerful and she does know how to deal with a lot of the other servants, but she's not as aggressive or goal-oriented, I will say, as Shiro. So I'm going to say a great advantage. I feel like in order to get her to operate the way that I want her to, I would have to burn a few command seals, which is never a good thing. Then we have Lancer-class servant Kana. And I'm just going to say great advantage. Like, there's not much to say about Kana outside of the fact that he is, like, an incredibly powerful Lancer. And of all of the Lancers on this list, he is probably my pick for sure. Except for maybe Vlad, we'll get into that. But as for Kana, like, there's no guarantee you're going to win. But it's a relatively safe bet. Then we have Lancelot Berserker. I'm going to say great disadvantage. Like, this comes with a lot of Berserkers, is that they are hard to control, but Lancelot is so, like, set on squaring up against Arturia that I feel like it would just get in the way of everything I want to do. Also, I would be quite scared of this guy, and you don't want to be scared of your servant. Not at all. Medea, I feel like she's a guaranteed loss. Like, Medea, she is powerful, but her way of doing things, first of all, I don't like the idea of my servant going over my head, which she would, all the time. But then her way of dealing with things, like, very cloak and dagger, betrayal, like, I know she's misunderstood. What I'm trying to get at is that her way of dealing with things would not work for me, and I fear that she would expose herself and turn herself into a target in the same way that she does in Unlimited Blade Works. So there you go. Then we have Medusa. I'm just going to say a great disadvantage. Like, I know a lot of people really like Medusa, and she is a powerful servant in her own right, but like, I feel like in any Holy Grail war, it doesn't matter if it's like a 14 servant war, a 7 servant war, it doesn't matter. I feel like in a pool of that many servants, there's always going to be stronger options than her, and there's not much I can do about that. Like, I could say it would be all on me, but I don't think I'm that creative, and like, if we were in a war and I had Medusa as my servant and we were put up against the likes of Hercules or Arturia or Gilgamesh even, any of these servants, and I wouldn't see any way to deal with it. Then we have Mordred. Mordred would just simply offer a great advantage. She is far from a guaranteed victory, but in Apocrypha, you see her take on like 3 or 4 other servants by herself and win until she doesn't win anymore. But she's just really powerful, probably more powerful than even Kana, which makes sense because of the type advantages in that. But no, I think that she's just an honestly really powerful servant. And because she is a Saber class, there's also that stigma of probably making it to the end as well. Then we have Sasuke Kojiru, and of all of the Assassin class servants here, he is probably my lowest pick. I'm just going to say a guaranteed loss. We don't see him do a lot in any of the anime, but like, while he can square up in a one-on-one fight against the likes of Arturia, in a realistic Holy Grail war, there are likely going to be situations where he has to divide his attention between more than just one. And this chivalrous act of, like, fighting enemies one at a time, wait your turn, sir, it's probably not going to work against everyone. So, I'm sorry, Sasuke, but it's not gonna happen. Then we have Semiramis, and I'm just gonna say she would put me at a great advantage. This is an example of a servant who I could probably rely on to come up with plans for me. She is a thinker, she's got resources, she knows what she's doing, but, as we see in Apocrypha, she is clearly not invincible. When it comes down to a one-on-one confrontation, like a good old-fashioned fight, she's quite exploitable. But if I were going to play the long game, I would want Semiramis on my team for sure. Then we got Shakespeare, and I'm going to say all on me for Shakespeare. Shakespeare, I thought he was going to be completely useless in Apocrypha until right at the end when we see him, like, fabricate, like a world, if you will, a reality marble from fiction, and, like, that turned things on its head, and it's like, it doesn't end well for him, obviously, but I'm, like, watching this, and I'm like, this could have actually been potentially the most powerful move in the whole game. But he didn't play his cards quite right. So I'm gonna say it would be all on me and how I feel like if his master, in this case me, were to encourage him to be more proactive and aggressive in how he fights the other servants, he could actually do a lot of damage. Then there is Siegfried. So Saber class servant. Unlike a lot of the other servants here, I feel like it would be all on me, and that's because of his moral code. Siegfried is like just the most ethical, morally sound saber there is, probably. He is perfectly selfless, and that would be a problem for me. Like, not to villainize myself, but I feel like if I were a master in a Holy Grail war, I would probably be quite underhanded and tactful, and that isn't how Siegfried operates. He would probably rebel against me, kind of like how he does in Apocrypha. So I'd either have to burn away command seals to get him to behave, or there'd just be problems. So I'd have to be tactful in how I appeal to his sense of duty to me. And it's like, I almost want to say great disadvantage, but I feel like he's powerful enough that he would still be enough of an advantage. But yeah. Okay, now we've got Spartacus. And Spartacus, I'm just going to say it, is a guaranteed loss. This guy, typical Berserker, hard to control, not even that powerful compared to a lot of other servants. And at the end of the day, I just don't really like him. So it's like, I wouldn't get along with this guy. He probably wouldn't listen to me. There would be a lot wrong with this situation. Then, lastly on this list, we have Vlad. Now, if I'm going by anime standards, this is Vlad Lancer. But in the Fate Go game, this iteration of Vlad is actually a Berserker. So I'm going to say that that probably doesn't matter because either way his personality is much the same, so he conducts himself much in the exact same way, Lancer or Berserker. If he is a Lancer, he is probably the only one on this list who would probably contend for my spot for best Lancer after Kana. I'm going to say that having Vlad on your team, the advantage would be on me, because as we see in Apocrypha, Vlad has this whole thing about treating himself as the master, and the master is the servant, which is not going to work for me. But I respect his power, and I feel like if I appealed to his sense of seniorship, for want of a better word, it could work a lot in my favor. But again, not just on me this case, but I feel like a lot of it would be dependent on like who our opponents were as well. I feel like there are some very powerful servants that Vlad could deal with quite readily, and then others not so much. But there you have it, everybody. Here's a random list of servants, essentially, from a bunch of the anime. You let me know down in the comments which ones you think would give you an advantage in a Holy Grail War, and which ones do you think would not. These are my choices, and those are my rationales. If you enjoyed this content today, guys, then please give the video a like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what other kind of videos you would like to see. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one!